Just 1 year after his stunning victory at the river Granicus, Alexander the Great marched his army deeper into the heart of Asia Minor. The mighty Persian Empire, the superpower of its day, began to tremble. Its ruler, King Darius III, was not a man to be trifled with. Determined to crush this audacious young invader once and for all, he assembled a vast, magnificent army. 2 worlds, 2 kings, 2 destinies were on a collision course, and on a narrow coastal plain, wedged between the mountains and the sea near the town of Issos, the fate of an empire would be sealed. Darius himself, the great king, led the Persian host. Imagine the scene. Over 100,000 soldiers, a sea of archers, thundering war chariots, and the most elite warriors of his sprawling empire. Facing them, Alexander commanded barely 40,000 men. He was outnumbered, outmatched, and a world away from home. But Alexander possessed something Darius did not: the unbreakable trust of his soldiers and a strategic genius that bordered on the supernatural. The battlefield itself was a paradox, hemmed in by the mountains on one side and the sea on the other. The terrain neutralized Darius's greatest advantages: sheer numbers. The Macedonians, disciplined and swift, formed their lines. The legendary phalanx held the center, while the cavalry massed on the right flank, where Alexander himself took position, ready to lead the charge. Across the field, the king of Persia watched imperiously from his golden chariot. The young conqueror of Macedon sat on his horse, his eyes fixed on the prize, silent, focused, waiting for the perfect moment. The air shattered as the Persians struck first. A storm of arrows darkened the sky, followed by a terrifying war cry that shook the very ground. Alexander's center buckled under the initial onslaught, but his hardened veterans held the line, refusing to break. And then Alexander saw it, the opening he had been waiting for. A momentary weakness in the Persian left flank. Without hesitation, he spurred his horse and led his elite companion cavalry forward. It was a thunderous charge of bronze, muscle, and sheer will that ripped through the enemy ranks like a lightning bolt. In the distance, Darius's golden chariot glittered, a beacon of Persian power. Alexander pointed his spear, signaling his target, and charged straight for the Persian king himself. The heart of the battlefield erupted into a vortex of chaos. Darius's personal guards, the Immortals, fought with desperate courage. But the Macedonian wedge, with Alexander at its tip, cut through them like a hot blade through butter. As Alexander and his companions closed in, a chilling realization swept over Darius. The battle was lost. The tide had irrevocably turned against him. Raw, primal fear replaced imperial pride. In the swelling confusion and terror, the great king of Persia did the unthinkable. He abandoned his chariot, his honor, and his army, and fled for his life. His soldiers saw their king, their god on earth, turn his back and run. Panic spread through the Persian lines like wildfire. The discipline of the once mighty host disintegrated. Tens of thousands of men threw down their weapons and joined the frantic retreat. The colossal Persian army simply collapsed before the relentless, disciplined advance of the Macedonians. Alexander pressed the pursuit until nightfall, ensuring his victory was absolute. Among the incredible spoils of war, his men discovered Darius's royal tent, and inside, the king's family, his mother, wife, and children left behind in the chaos. But here, Alexander showed a different side. He treated them not as captives, but with the honor and respect due to royalty, a gesture of clemency that echoed throughout the ancient world. The Battle of Issus was more than just a victory. It was a seismic shift in the history of the world. For the first time, the great king of Persia had fled in disgrace from a battlefield. The legend of Alexander the Great was no longer a story. It was a terrifying reality. With this single, decisive blow, he had seized the entire western heart of the Persian Empire. The rich lands of Syria, the strategic ports of Phoenicia, and the ancient civilization of Egypt now lay open before him. Darius would escape to fight another day, but the world now knew who the true master of war was. At Issus, the boy king from the hills of Macedon became the nightmare of emperors. The hunter had finally cornered his prey, and the Persian Empire would never be the same again. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey back in time, Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more epic history.